Commander Jason Blaze Carter was not the kind of man to ignore a call for help. The stars stretched endlessly before him as his sleek fighter jet glided through the darkness of space. He was running a solo training exercise near the edge of Earth's defense perimeter, testing the new Valkyrie X, an experimental starfighter built for deep space combat. The ship was fast, sharp, and deadly, just like Jason. His radio was silent, his cockpit lights glowing softly as he ran through another maneuver. Then, suddenly, beep, beep, beep. An unknown distress signal flashed on his screen. Jason frowned. This was no ordinary transmission. It was weak, scattered, as if sent by a ship barely holding itself together. The language was unknown, but the desperate tone was universal. Someone, somewhere, was in trouble. Jason's heart pounded. He checked the coordinates. It was coming from deep space, beyond Earth's monitored zones. The military protocol was clear. Report any unknown signals and await further orders. But Jason wasn't just any pilot. He was Earth's best fighter ace, and he didn't believe in waiting while lives were on the line. Control, this is Blaze. I picked up an unknown distress signal at Sector 11K, requesting permission to investigate. A crackling voice responded through his earpiece. Negative, Commander. Maintain current position. We'll send a scout team. Jason clenched his jaw. A scout team. By the time they arrived, whoever sent that signal would be dead. His hands gripped the controls. He made his decision. Control, I'm experiencing technical difficulties. Comms going dark. He smirked. Guess I'll have to check this out myself. Before command could stop him, he punched the thrusters, and the Valkyrie X roared forward, vanishing into the depths of space. A ghost ship in the dark. After a few minutes of hyperspace travel, Jason arrived at the source of the distress call. His eyes widened at the sight before him. A massive, silver-hulled alien battleship drifted lifelessly near a violent gas giant, its surface scarred by battle damage. Parts of the ship were broken off, debris floating around it like silent ghosts. The energy readings were low. The ship was dying. Jason activated his scanner. Life signs detected. All right, let's see who's inside, he muttered, adjusting his trajectory. As he maneuvered closer, something felt wrong. His instincts, honed by years of combat, told him that he wasn't alone. He flipped on his ship's radar just in time to see a group of enemy fighters lurking nearby. They were waiting. Jason swore under his breath. Whoever had attacked this ship hadn't finished the job yet. And now, they had noticed him. The enemy ships powered up, breaking formation and heading straight for him. Jason grinned. All right, let's dance. He pushed the controls forward, and the Valkyrie X shot toward the attackers, ready for battle. Jason's grip tightened on the controls as the enemy fighters rushed toward him. His heart pounded, but he wasn't afraid. He had fought many battles before. This was just another day in the life of Earth's best fighter pilot. There were 4 enemy ships, small and fast, moving like hungry wolves circling their prey. Their dark hulls had sharp curved designs, almost like blades flying through space. Jason had never seen ships like these before. All right, let's see what you've got, he muttered. The first enemy fired, a bright purple energy blast streaking toward him. Jason rolled the Valkyrie X to the side, avoiding the shot by inches. Another enemy came from above, trying to trap him. But Jason pulled his ship into a hard dive, moving with the precision of a master pilot. He flipped a switch. Missile lock engage. Goodbye. Jason fired, and his missile struck the nearest enemy fighter, tearing it apart in a brilliant explosion. The remaining 3 ships changed tactics, flying in tight formation, their lasers cutting through the darkness. Jason gritted his teeth, weaving through the barrage of fire. He had speed. He had skill. But the enemy had numbers. One of them managed to land a hit on his wing, sending his ship into a wild spin. Warning lights flashed inside his cockpit. Damn it! He fought the controls, stabilizing just in time to see the alien battleship drifting in the distance. Then he had an idea. He turned sharply and flew straight toward the damaged battleship. The enemy followed, believing they had him cornered. But Jason knew exactly what he was doing. He twisted between the floating debris, dodging wreckage that could tear his ship apart. The enemy ships weren't as fast or precise, and one of them crashed into a piece of broken hull, exploding instantly. "Two down," Jason said with a smirk. He looped around, fired his laser cannons, and struck another enemy ship right in the cockpit. It spun out of control before bursting into flames. The last enemy pilot hesitated. That was all Jason needed. He boosted forward, flipped his ship upside down, and fired directly into the enemy's engines. The final fighter exploded, leaving nothing but smoke and wreckage behind. Jason exhaled. That's how you do it. But he wasn't done yet. The real mission was just beginning. Boarding the alien ship, Jason slowed his fighter and approached the massive battleship. Now that the enemy was gone, he could focus on the distress signal. He activated his comms. "This is Commander Jason Carter of Earth. If anyone is alive in there, respond." Static. Then, a weak voice. Female. Desperate. "Earth, you heard our call." Jason's eyes widened. They spoke English. How was that possible? "Yeah, I heard you," he answered. "I'm coming in." The battleship's hangar doors were stuck, but Jason found a small docking port and manually hacked into the system, forcing it open. He climbed out of his cockpit and stepped onto the alien ship. The air inside was thin and cold. Flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. The place felt like a ghost ship, but his scanner told him there were survivors ahead. He moved carefully, hand on his sidearm, in case whatever attacked this ship was still lurking inside. Then he saw them. A group of tall, elegant humanoid aliens huddled in the corner of the corridor. Their silver-blue skin shimmered under the dim light, and their long, flowing hair moved as if touched by an invisible breeze. Their large violet eyes were filled with exhaustion and fear. Jason took a slow step forward. "I'm here to help." One of them, a woman who appeared to be their leader, stepped forward. She was stunning, but there was strength in her gaze. "I am Captain Rilla Vayara of the Vayari Alliance," she said. "We are in great danger." Jason frowned. "I figured. Who attacked you?" Her face darkened. "The Zorveth Imperium. They will return soon. If we do not leave now, we will all die." Jason glanced around. The ship was barely holding together, and now he had a name for the enemy. The Zorveth. Whoever they were, clearly wanted these people dead. Jason cracked his knuckles. "Well, Captain, you called for help. Lucky for you. I don't run from a fight." Jason Carter stood face to face with Captain Rilla Vayara and her crew. The Vayari were unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, graceful, with glowing violet eyes and an otherworldly beauty. But right now, they weren't just an alien species. They were survivors, stranded in deep space with a failing ship and a deadly enemy on their tail. "How bad is the damage?" Jason asked, scanning the corridor. The walls were scorched, wires dangled from the ceiling, and the dim emergency lights flickered. Rilla's expression was grim. "Our hyperdrive is offline. Shields are at 5%. We have limited weapons left." Jason folded his arms. "And you said the Zorveth are coming back?" Rilla nodded. "They never leave a battle unfinished." Jason exhaled sharply. He had just fought off a squad of Zorveth fighters, but he doubted that was the main force. If they were returning, it wouldn't be just a few ships. It would be an entire fleet, and this crippled ship wouldn't survive another attack. He turned to Rilla. "All right, show me your engine room. Maybe I can help." She blinked in surprise. "You understand starship engineering." Jason smirked. "I don't just fly ships. I know how they work." The broken hyperdrive. Rilla led Jason through the corridors, her crew following behind, some limping from injuries, The Vayari ship was massive, but it felt empty, as if most of the crew had been lost in battle. When they reached the engine room, Jason's eyes widened. The hyperdrive was twice the size of his fighter, a glowing crystalline core pulsing weakly in its chamber. Sparks flew from broken panels, and the control interface flickered with error messages. Jason whistled. "This is some advanced tech." Rayla placed a hand on the damaged console. "Our ship runs on quantum energy conduits. The Zorvath's weapons disrupted them. We cannot repair it in time." Jason rolled up his sleeves. "Let me take a look." The Vayari exchanged uncertain glances as Jason knelt beside the core, scanning the circuits. He may not have seen this exact technology before, but the fundamentals of starship engines were universal. And if there was one thing humans did better than most species, it was fixing things under pressure. He traced the damage with his fingers, checking for anything salvageable. The energy conduits were fried, but he spotted an intact power relay nearby. An idea sparked in his mind. "I have a plan," Jason said. "It won't be pretty, but I think I can reroute power from your auxiliary systems and bypass the damaged conduits. It'll give you just enough energy for one jump." Rella's brows furrowed. "But that would drain life support." Jason shrugged. "Only for a few minutes. If we time it right, we can jump before anyone suffocates." One of the Vayari engineers gasped. "That is reckless." Jason grinned. "No, that's human." Rilla hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Do it." The Zorvath returned. Jason worked fast, rewiring the circuits with the Vayari engineers assisting him. Minutes passed as the hyperdrive's core flickered brighter. Then, ALARM-KLAXONS blared. A Vayari officer rushed in, eyes wide with fear. "Captain, the Zorvath fleet has arrived." Jason looked at Rilla. "How many?" The officer swallowed. 12 warships, 3 cruisers, 1 dreadnought." Jason cursed under his breath. "A full invasion force." Rilla turned to Jason, urgency in her voice. "How much longer?" Jason wiped sweat from his forehead. "A few more minutes." They didn't have a few minutes. The ship shook violently as the Zorvath opened fire. The failing shields flared under the impact. More alarms sounded, hull breaches detected. A voice crackled through the Vayari comms. A deep, cold voice. "Vayari vessel, this is Commander Xalvok of the Zorvath Imperium. Surrender now or be destroyed." Rilla clenched her fists. "We will never surrender." Jason stood. "Then we better fight." The last stand. Jason sprinted to the bridge, Rilla and her crew behind him. The view screen showed the enemy fleet looming over them like a pack of predators. The Zorvath dreadnought charged its primary cannon. Jason pointed at the ship's remaining weapons. "What do we have left?" A Vayari officer shook his head. "Only the auto turrets, but they are too slow to target the enemy fighters." Jason grinned. "Not if I control them manually." He jumped into the gunnery station, gripping the controls. The turrets responded instantly. The Vayari may have advanced weapons, but they had never seen human reflexes in action. Jason fired rapidly, blasting through incoming Zorvath fighters with pinpoint accuracy. The enemy pilots, expecting a weak, dying ship, were caught off guard by the sudden resistance. But it wasn't enough. The Zorvath dreadnought fired. A massive energy beam tore through space, heading straight for them. "Hyperdrive ready," a Vayari engineer shouted. "Now," Jason roared. Rilla slammed the control panel. The ship vanished into hyperspace. The stars stretched and twisted, swirling around the massive Vayari battleship as it hurtled through hyperspace. Then, BAM! The ship jolted as it exited the jump, finally escaping the deadly Zorvath fleet. Jason Carter exhaled, his hand still gripping the turret controls. They made it. The bridge was silent for a moment. The Vayari crew stared at the main screen, showing nothing but the calm darkness of space. No enemy ships, no explosions. They were safe, for now. Then, a cheer erupted among the crew. Some clapped, others embraced each other in relief. But Jason knew better. They had survived, yes, but they weren't out of danger yet. Damage and decisions. Rilla turned to her crew. Status report. A Vayari officer, still panting from the intense battle, checked the systems. We have multiple hull breaches. Shield generator at 2%. Life support is stable, but power is critically low. Jason ran a hand through his short hair. That means we're sitting ducks. Rilla nodded grimly. We need repairs, but first, we must contact the Vayari High Command and warn them. Jason folded his arms. You said the Zorveth never leave a battle unfinished. If they know you're alive, they'll come for you again. Rilla's violet eyes darkened. They won't stop until every last Vayari is destroyed. Jason clenched his fists. Then we need to make sure that never happens. Rilla studied him for a moment. You fight like a warrior of my people, Jason Carter. But why did you risk your life for us? You could have ignored our distress signal. Jason smirked. Not my style. She tilted her head. Is it an Earth custom? To fight for those you do not know? Jason shrugged. We have a saying back home. You don't turn your back on those who need help. That's what makes us human. Rilla's lips curled into a small, almost grateful smile. Jason crossed his arms. Now, about those repairs. I'm guessing you don't have a mechanic floating around. A Vayari engineer stepped forward. Our automated repair drones are damaged. Without external assistance, we cannot fix the ship quickly. Jason sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. Rilla's eyes gleamed. There is a place where we can go. Jason raised an eyebrow. And where's that? The hidden sanctuary. A few hours later, Jason stood by the ship's viewport as they approached a mysterious blue planet. It was hidden inside a dense nebula, its swirling cosmic dust acting as a natural shield against scanners. Even Jason's advanced fighter wouldn't have detected it. Welcome to Exelis, Rilla said, one of the last hidden sanctuaries of my people. Jason whistled. Not bad. And no Zorveth. Rilla shook her head. They have not found it yet. As the ship entered the atmosphere, Jason saw a massive floating city above the planet's surface. It was built into the clouds, silver towers rising into the sky. The Vayari weren't just warriors. They were engineers, thinkers, creators. The ship landed smoothly, and Jason followed Rilla outside. The air was fresh, carrying a faint scent of energy fields humming in the background. The city's streets were lined with Vayari of all ages, their expressions a mix of curiosity and wariness as they saw a human for the first time. Jason leaned toward Rilla. You sure they won't throw me in an alien prison? She smirked. No promises. A growing threat. As they walked toward the central command hall, Jason noticed something troubling. The city looked peaceful, but he saw the fear in the people's eyes. He saw children clutching their parents, and soldiers standing at every corner, weapons in hand. These people weren't living. They were waiting. Waiting for the Zorveth to find them. Inside the command hall, Vayari leaders sat around a holographic display, their faces grim. When Rilla stepped forward, they all turned to her. Captain Vayara, one of them said, we feared you were lost. We nearly were, she replied. And we will be again, if we do not act. She turned to Jason. This is Commander Jason Carter of Earth. Without him, we would not be here. The council members studied Jason carefully. One of them spoke, a human. Jason gave a small salute. Yeah. And I'm guessing you need all the help you can get. The council leader's expression was serious. You do not understand, human. This war is not just about us. If the Zorvath conquer the Vayari, they will not stop. They will come for Earth next. Jason's smirk faded. The council leader continued. If your people do not prepare, your planet will burn. Silence filled the chamber. Jason took a deep breath. He had come here to answer a distress call. Now, he realized he had stepped into something much bigger. This wasn't just about saving the Vayari. This was about saving Earth. Jason gritted his teeth. Then we fight. The Vayari Council exchanged glances. Rilla gave Jason a knowing nod. Then we fight. Jason Carter stood in the Vayari War Council chamber, surrounded by some of the most powerful leaders of the alien race. Their violet eyes watched him closely, some filled with doubt, others with curiosity. The air was heavy with tension. The leader of the council, an older Vayari named Commander Orin, leaned forward. You say we must fight, human. But do you understand what that truly means? Jason met his gaze without hesitation. I do. It means we stop running. It means we stop waiting for the Zorvath to destroy us. The room fell silent. Then Rilla Vayara, the captain who had fought beside Jason, stepped forward. Jason is right. We have hidden for too long. We have lost too much. If we do nothing, we will all fall, one by one. A younger Vayari general scoffed. And what can a single human do against the Zorvath armada? Jason smirked. A single human. Not much. But humans. We fight. And we win. Commander Orin studied him for a long moment before finally speaking. If we are to fight, we must be ready. The Zorvath fleet is vast, and they will not stop until every last Vayari is gone. He turned to Jason. What do you suggest? Jason took a deep breath. He had fought in wars before, but this was something else. He wasn't just fighting for his people. He was fighting for an entire civilization. And he had a plan. The human strategy. Jason pointed at the holographic map of the galaxy. The Zorvath are powerful, but they rely on brute force. They overwhelm their enemies with numbers and firepower. A Vayari tactician nodded. Yes, they destroy everything in their path. Jason grinned. Exactly. They expect their enemies to stand and fight, but we're not going to fight the way they expect. He tapped the map. We don't attack their fleet head-on. We hit their supply lines, their fuel stations, their communication hubs. We make them weak before they even reach us. A murmur spread through the room. Some of the Vayari looked uncertain, but Rilla smiled. A war of sabotage. Jason nodded. We turn their own strength into their weakness. Without supplies, their massive fleet is useless. Commander Orin considered his words carefully. This strategy, it is not how the Vayari have fought before. Jason crossed his arms. It's how humans win wars. After a long pause, the commander stood. Very well. You will lead the first strike. Jason blinked. Wait, what? Rilla chuckled. You had the idea, Jason. Now you prove it will work. Jason sighed. Guess I walked into that one. The first mission. The next day, Jason found himself aboard a sleek Vayari stealth ship, sitting in the pilot's seat. Unlike the massive battle cruisers, this vessel was designed for speed and invisibility. Rilla sat beside him, her fingers moving across the control panel. Our target is a Zorvath fuel depot. It supplies 3 of their main warships. If we destroy it, we slow them down. Jason nodded. Sounds simple enough. A Vayari engineer, Talon, spoke from behind them. Their defenses are minimal. They do not expect an attack this deep in their territory. Jason grinned. Then let's teach them a lesson. With that, he activated the ship's engines, and they jumped into hyperspace, infiltrating the enemy. The ship exited hyperspace just outside the Zorvath fuel depot. Jason narrowed his eyes at the massive station floating above a blue gas giant. Tankers moved in and out, filling up with fuel for the warships. Rilla checked the scanners. No enemy fleet, just a few security drones and a patrol ship. Jason smirked. Let's make this quick. He piloted the stealth ship toward the station, using the planet's gravity to hide their approach. Once they were close enough, Jason and Rilla suited up and exited the ship, using small thrusters to glide toward the station. Talon's voice came through the comms. You have 5 minutes before they detect you. Jason landed on the station's hull and activated a hacking device, linking into the depot's security system. He typed rapidly, overriding the controls. "I'm in." Rilla pulled out a small plasma charge, setting the explosives now. They worked fast, planting charges near the fuel tanks. Jason could feel his heart pounding. If the Zorvath caught them, there would be no escape. Then, warning. Unauthorized access DTTCT. Jason cursed. "We're out of time. Get back to the ship." Escape and explosion. The station's alarms blared, and the patrol ship turned toward them. Jason and Rilla launched off the station, using their thrusters to fly back toward their ship. Talon shouted over the comms. "They're locking weapons on us." Jason gritted his teeth. "Hold on." The stealth ship's engines roared as it powered up. Jason and Rilla barely made it inside before the Zorvath patrol ship opened fire. The shields flashed, absorbing the first blast. Jason jumped into the pilot's seat and grabbed the controls. Time to go. He slammed the thrusters, and the ship shot forward. The Zorvath chased them, firing relentlessly. Rilla checked the screen. "We're clear of the blast zone." Jason grinned. "Then let's light the fireworks." He pressed the detonator. Boom! The entire fuel station erupted in a massive explosion, sending shockwaves across space. The Zorvath patrol ship was caught in the blast, its hull tearing apart. Jason let out a breath. Mission complete. Rilla smirked. Not bad for a human. Jason chuckled. Not bad for an alien either. As the stealth ship jumped into hyperspace, Jason knew this was just the beginning. The Zorvath had been hurt, but now they would be angry. Jason Carter leaned back in the pilot's seat of the Veyari stealth ship, watching the stars blur past as they sped through hyperspace. His hands were still tense on the controls, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The mission had been a success. They had destroyed the Zorvath fuel station, cutting off supplies to several enemy warships. But Jason knew the fight was far from over. Rilla sat beside him, her violet eyes scanning the ship's systems. "We hurt them," she said, "but they won't take this lightly." Jason nodded. "No chance. They'll come looking for us." Talon, the Veyari engineer, leaned forward from the back of the cockpit. "We intercepted a transmission before we jumped. The Zorvath have declared a full-scale hunt for us." Jason exhaled sharply. "Great. So we just made ourselves enemy number one." Ryla's lips curled into a determined smile. "Then let them come. We will be ready." The aftermath. Back at the Veyari hidden city, the council gathered to hear the report. The news of their victory spread quickly, and for the first time in years, the Veyari felt hope. Commander Orin listened carefully to Jason's words. When Jason finished, the older Veyari spoke. "This was a bold strike, human. You have shaken the Zorvath. But now, they will strike back with fury." Jason crossed his arms. "Then we prepare. We hit them before they hit us." A younger general stepped forward. "We must take the fight to them. We should launch a direct attack on their warships." Jason shook his head. "That's exactly what they expect. We need to stay smart." Rilla nodded. Jason's plan worked once. We should trust it. Orin studied Jason for a long moment. "Then what is your next move?" Jason pointed at the holographic map in front of them. "The Zorvath will be looking for us. They'll scan every system, send fleets to every possible location. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. But while they're distracted, we can strike another critical point. Their communication relays." A murmur spread through the room. If they took out the enemy's communications, they could throw the entire fleet into chaos. Orin finally nodded. "Very well. You will lead the mission." Jason sighed. "Of course I will." The Zorvath trap. Jason and his team prepared quickly. The Veyari stealth ship launched into the dark void of space, heading toward the nearest Zorvath communication station. As they approached the target, Rella ran a scan. No warships detected, just automated defenses. Jason frowned. That's too easy. Teelan's voice came through the comms. Maybe they haven't reinforced their stations yet. Jason wasn't convinced. Something felt off, but they had a mission to complete. The stealth ship slipped past the outer defenses, and Jason and Rilla launched toward the station using their personal thrusters. Just like before, they landed on the station's hull and began planting explosives. Everything was going smoothly until the alarms blared. Warning! Enemy vessel DTCTE. Jason's eyes widened. He turned to see 3 massive Zorvath warships emerging from hyperspace. It was a trap. The battle begins. Teelan's panicked voice came through the comms. They were waiting for us. Get out of there. Jason and Rilla raced back toward the ship, dodging incoming laser fire from enemy drones. The Vayari stealth ship fired back, taking out several attackers, but the Zorvath warships were closing in fast. Jason barely made it inside the cockpit before enemy torpedoes streaked toward them. Hold on, he shouted, jerking the controls. The ship barrel rolled, narrowly avoiding the explosions. Rilla strapped into the co-pilot's seat. We can't win this fight. We need an escape route. Teelan's fingers flew over the controls. I'm activating the cloaking device. Before he could finish, the ship shook violently. Direct hit, Rilla yelled. Shields are failing. Jason gritted his teeth. No choice. We fight our way out. He spun the ship, weaving between enemy fire, pushing the engines to their limit. But the Zorvath weren't giving up. More fighters launched from the warships, surrounding them from all sides. Rilla's voice was tense. We won't last much longer. Jason's mind raced. There had to be a way out. Then, he saw it, a nearby asteroid field. Hang on. Jason pulled the ship into a sharp dive, heading straight for the dense cluster of space rocks. Teelan's eyes widened. You're crazy. Jason grinned. Yeah, but it'll work. The ship shot into the asteroid field, dodging massive chunks of rock. The Zorvath fighters followed, but their larger warships hesitated. Jason pushed the ship to its limits, twisting and turning through the narrow gaps between asteroids. One by one, the enemy fighters crashed into the rocks, unable to keep up. Finally, Jason saw an opening. He gunned the engines and blasted out of the asteroid field, leaving the remaining Zorvath behind. Teelan let out a breath. I can't believe that worked. Rilla smirked. Never doubt a human pilot. Jason chuckled. Let's get back home before they try again. The stealth ship jumped into hyperspace, disappearing into the stars. The war is changing. Back at the Vayari hidden city, Jason and his team reported back to the council. Orin listened carefully, his expression grave. The Zorvath anticipated your attack. They are adapting. Jason nodded. Yeah, which means we have to be smarter. Rilla crossed her arms. We can't keep running forever. We need to find a way to end this war. Orin exhaled. Then we must prepare for the final battle. Jason looked around at the gathered leaders. He had come here to answer a distress call. Now he was leading an entire war for survival, and he wasn't about to lose. Then let's finish this, he said. Rilla nodded. Together. The council agreed. The time for hiding was over. The final fight was coming, and humanity would stand with the Vayari. The stars stretched endlessly outside the Vayari warship, their cold light shining over the battlefield to come. Jason Carter stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic display of the Zorvath fleet. It was massive. Hundreds of warships, heavy cruisers, destroyers, and fighter squadrons were moving toward the last Vayari stronghold. If they broke through, the war would be over. The Vayari would be wiped out. Jason clenched his fists. Not on my watch. Commander Orin stepped forward. The time has come. Our people are ready to fight. But against such a force, our chances are slim. Jason turned, his eyes burning with determination. Then we make them better. Rila, standing beside him, nodded. What's the plan? Jason zoomed in on the holographic map. We can't win a direct fight, but we don't need to. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. We just need to hit them where it hurts the most. The plan. Jason pointed to a weak spot in the Zorveth formation. Here, their flagship, the Tyrant, is their command center. Take it out, and their fleet will fall into chaos. Orin studied the map. That ship is heavily guarded. A direct attack would be suicide. Jason smirked. That's why we don't attack directly. He pulled up another part of the map. We split our forces. One fleet engages them head-on, making it look like a desperate last stand. Meanwhile, a small strike team infiltrates the Tyrant and takes out their leader. Rella raised an eyebrow. A boarding mission. That's risky. Jason grinned. Yeah, but I like our chances. Orin sighed. And I assume you want to lead this team. Jason nodded. Of course. The battle begins. As the Veyari fleet launched, Jason sat in the cockpit of a modified fighter, leading the infiltration team. The first shots of the battle lit up the void as the Veyari ships clashed with the Zorveth armada. Explosions erupted as energy cannons fired across space. Jason's communicator crackled. We're in position, Orin said. The Zorveth have taken the bait. Go now. Jason pushed the throttle, guiding his small team of stealth fighters through the chaos. Dodging enemy fire, they closed in on the Tyrant. Engaging jamming systems, Talon reported from the backseat. They won't see us coming until it's too late. Jason smirked. Let's make this count. Their fighters slipped past enemy defenses, docking onto the side of the massive warship. Jason and Rilla led the boarding party, cutting through the hull and stepping inside. The final fight had begun. Inside the enemy ship, the Zorveth soldiers were waiting. Blaster fire filled the halls as Jason and the Veyari team fought their way forward. Jason moved fast, dodging, shooting, and taking down enemies with precision. Rilla fought beside him, her Veyari blade slicing through enemy armor. We're close to the command center, Talon shouted. Jason kicked down the final door. Inside, standing on a raised platform, was Overlord Xyros, the monstrous Zorveth leader. His glowing red eyes locked onto Jason, a human. Xyros growled. How amusing. Do you truly think you can stop me? Jason smirked. Let's find out. The final confrontation. Xyros was fast, too fast. The moment Jason raised his blaster, Xyros lunged forward, knocking him across the room. Jason rolled to his feet, pain shooting through his body. Rilla leaped into action, clashing with Xyros in a deadly duel. But Xyros was strong. He overpowered Rilla and sent her crashing into a control panel. Jason gritted his teeth. This is it. No more running. He saw a weakness, a power core on Xyros' armor. A direct hit could end this. Jason grabbed a fallen enemy blaster, aimed carefully, and fired a single shot. The blast hit dead center. Xyros staggered, his armor sparking and failing. Jason didn't waste a second. He charged forward, delivering a powerful punch that sent the Overlord crashing to the floor. Xyros coughed, his strength fading. Impossible. Jason stood over him. Not impossible. Just human. He pressed a button on his wrist. Talon, trigger the explosives. Talon's voice came through. Done. Boom. Explosions rocked the ship as the planted charges detonated, crippling the Tyrant. Jason grabbed Rilla and ran back toward the docking bay. Orin, the Tyrant is falling. Pull back. Through the viewport, Jason saw the Zorveth fleet breaking formation as their leader fell. The Veyari forces seized the moment, pushing forward. Then, the Tyrant exploded. A massive fireball consumed the warship, sending shockwaves through space. The Zorveth fleet panicked, their chain of command broken. One by one, they retreated. The battle was won. Victory. Back on the Vayari homeworld, celebrations erupted. The war was finally over. Commander Orin stood before Jason, nodding with respect. "You have done what we could not. You saved our people." Jason smiled, glancing at Rilla. "Not alone. We did this together." Rilla smirked. "Not bad for a human." Jason chuckled. "Not bad for an alien." As the Vayari rejoiced, Jason looked up at the stars. A human had answered the call for help, and together they had won.